Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, and that way, anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Today's date is Monday, October 4th, 2021. And we're here to discuss about the dismantling of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They weren't much of a Knights as the Buckeyes torpedoed them.
Well, they gave them a bad night, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a bad night for Rutgers. So, I mean, where to begin? I mean, very impressed overall with how they played the game. I mean, just dominated them in all phases, pretty much. I mean, they defensively still was able to take, Akron, and now has moved it on to the next level, which was, Rutgers, better team, better players, and still look just as dominant on defense, with the exception is that there's, the pass rush tapered off a little bit compared to Akron, but I didn't think it was as bad as what I saw some people on Twitter saying that, they still need to worry about their, their pass rush, especially getting ready to go against better teams. I actually thought that they got some decent pressure on what's Noah Vedral, that it just not every bit of pressure results in sacks. So
yeah, I mean, it was for sure a step up from what you saw against like Tulsa and Oregon. So I mean, that's something. And like you said, Zach Harrison, he did force an interception. Tyleik Williams, even though he had a sack, or he forced, I don't know if that counts as a sack. He forced a fumble and forced an interception. That guy's a force. He's just a beast. So they did some better things. I mean, JT Tuimoloau, he definitely looks like he's the real deal. He's of size, like he's ready to play right now. Jack Sawyer probably is a little undersized, it seems like. He is a finesse guy, like Larry Johnson says, but it seems like he gets pushed around a little bit easier. Yeah. But he's still making plays. He's making guys hold him because he's blowing by them on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So, and then from what we've seen, Ronnie Hickman had a good game. Cody Simon had a good game. Cam Martinez almost makes a pick six on a punt.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Punt. I mean, if he connects with that, I mean, he has a free sideline.
Well,
so.
And if that was last year, that probably hits.
Yeah, exactly.
But they had the awareness this year. I mean, nobody was, and it was a good call too. And it was sold well and no one really fell for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wasn't even thinking like that early in the game that it didn't even like phase into my mind that, this is like a perfect opportunity. They're running a fake. And when that guy threw the ball up, it went to an up man and he threw it. I'm like, shh,
right.
And he and just then I said it again when Cam Martinez almost came down with it. I've been like, man, he probably took that to the house.
Yeah, that was definitely, he had the shot, but I mean, hell, it was good enough to break it up. So. Yeah.
Which all that matters, especially the way they played offensively, which we'll get to here in a couple minutes. That I mean, because we'll start with the defense, but I mean, just they dominate. Like I said, they dominated them in all phases. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a lot of opportunities, special teams wise, but that was the big one right there. That could have made the game a little, at least to start the game off a little bit more interesting because it just.
You surprised Shiano didn't run more trick plays or? Think he just wanted to get out of there at a point?
I am surprised, but I think he probably realized after that one that maybe that a lot of that stuff wasn't going to work this time. Because just them running a zone defense, and we kind of talked about this going into the game, that a lot of the trick plays that they ran last year on offense, a lot of that stuff wasn't going to work.
Right, it wouldn't work against the zone.
So I think the defensive scheme just takes a lot of that stuff away to begin with. so there's other opportunities, obviously, with special teams, but he made his one attempt at it and he gave him the ball at the 50-yard line and they go score. So like,
right. Yeah.
So the speak about the zone defense again, it's just for whatever reason, call it the youth. And that's what I'm thinking. They just have a lot of young guys. They just react better to this style of defense. They're able to just react to the person. I mean, how many times on, some of those, those quick bubble screens or what, they just had a guy right there to meet him and, are trying to throw it to a running back in the flat. And, I mean, there wasn't much free running. I actually think early in the game last week, there was more free running from Akron than Rutgers.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure early there was like a screen that Rutgers missed on that would have been huge. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you that it's just like it's because they have this confidence that, they know they're only responsible for so much green. And then as soon as they see the ball, they can attack it.
Yeah.
Whereas they're just with their man-to-man stuff, they just like, I got to follow this guy. And they don't know how to switch back. And they, left huge lanes on the field.
Definitely where they were always getting confused of is where to switch, especially in the middle on those who do you switch on when on motions and different things like that. So I think that this is definitely helping them. It's
making them play a lot faster.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely
able to attack
at all levels too. I mean, even Eichenberg to the point that like, now I'm like, it's like as much crap as I was giving him,
he's a serviceable backup.
Yeah. And it's like, man, if they would have just ran some of this defense with Tough, even Tough might have looked a little bit better in this thing. Cause it's just like, it just takes a lot of the thinking out of it for the players. And, they're able just to react to the ball, which again, it's just sometimes I like aggressive man-to-man defenses just as, I mean, if you could put two solid, you have two solid, unbelievable corners and you just be like, yep, do whatever you try doing what you got and we're going to lock you guys down. But so much of football, even in the pros, I mean, from what I watched a lot of this weekend is that it just man-to-man, it just doesn't work as well in the middle of the field as it does on the outsides because, I mean, you got the sidelines and all this stuff that you can at least help, different things with. But, if you have a half decent quarterback and, a good receivers, they can find they'll tear man-to-man apart unless, a blitz gets to them.
Well, and that's the thing. If you don't have a line that can absolutely dominate or a blitz that's like getting home every single time, your linebackers and safeties are dead.
Yeah. And, that's where you think about it. I mean, when we've had our best corners and like when you go back to think about 2019, yeah, those outside corners were phenomenal, but Sean Wade dictated a lot of the middle and he was good in that situation. So he could run man-to-man in those situations against tended to usually be smaller, slot receivers. And they were fine because they were getting good rush from Chase Young. So, so like this just works better. I mean, and then you could throw different things like, dropping defensive ends into, I mean, Jack Sawyer ends up in the one where I can't remember if it's a sack or not, but they definitely disrupt the play.
Oh, that's a brilliant play. Yeah, they drop him. They almost have him as like a stand up and they drop him into the throwing lane. Yeah.
And it's smart decision by what's his face not to throw it because an interception was
right. Yeah. Or at least, I mean, I don't know how Jack's hands are. He at least knocks the ball down. Yeah. That was a great call.
Yeah. So it's just different things you can do that way. You can disguise some blitzes. You can disguise a lot of different things. Like you can bring a safety up and then drop him back as the play starts. You could bring linebackers up and drop them back while bringing the safety. And just if by doing stuff like that, you could actually come up with some creative blitz packages that force the quarterbacks to try to find a hot route real quick. But at the same time, you're dropping somebody into the hot route and you're not. And so it just screws with people. And, I think that this works for them better than anything right now, just because what you got on offense, they're going to be, and especially after we saw this week with Stroud, that you keep on just doing stuff like that. And maybe you got to get a little bit more, a little bit more less predictive if we get to the playoffs against better quality opponents.
You got to keep mixing stuff in there. Yeah.
For right now with the athletes you have, even with, you got a tougher Big Ten schedule coming up, but they could beat Penn State with this defense. They could beat Michigan State or Michigan with this defense. I mean, they have the athletes to do it.
Well, and that's the thing about this defense. Like when you're allowed to play fast, see ball, attack ball, get turnovers, that's going to give them the opportunity to get, maybe a couple more possessions for the offense. And if this offense looks like they may be hitting their stride, maybe I don't know, maybe it's false. Who knows? But, their offense looked damn good against Rutgers. And so I'm excited about that. I do want to point out that Ronnie Hickman was probably the best player on the defense. As I said, he would be.
You did.
However, Ronnie did have a really bad angle on a big touchdown run. So can't give him like 100% props, but he was flying all over the field. He's so damn good, and he's getting better every week. Yeah,
I liked what I saw from Hickman. I agree with you. I picked. I was actually we're getting ready to talk about this. I picked Harrison. I think outside of Hickman, I think Tre Williams was the defensive player.
He's got to start.
I mean, that guy's becoming a freak.
He's the best guy in the middle of that defensive line. He has to start. Him and Haskell got to be the starters.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like he's on one-man wrecking crew. You can't block him. Like, he's just sitting on everything. He's like, he's just nasty. And now we're getting pressure up the middle where maybe we were thinking some of that stuff would come from your defensive ends. But, with athletic ends and stuff like that, if you get pressure up the middle like that, they are good enough, at least on the outside, of at least takes away anything of running up the pocket. So the quarterbacks are going to have to run outside.
Or if the quarterback has to, because you're getting that pressure up the middle, if they got to take 2 more steps back to try to avoid Williams, then those ends are there because of how deep the quarterbacks, made that play. So, I think him and Haskell Garrett, they're going to create more sacks as the year goes along, but he has to be your starter. I mean, especially with this offense, it is so important to get that quick start, to get a touchdown and then get the other offense off the field and give yourself a chance to go up 2 scores. Or if they have the ball first, not going down and matching them, but going up on them. So it is so important for this offense. He has to be the starter.
No. So they had another pick 6, this time Denzel Burke.
So that's what, 3 in 3 games.
So, and we talked about that last week. Is this whole defense is just going to create more turnover opportunities. And we said that wasn't, those 2 pick 6s weren't the last of the pick 6s. And at this point, when you got this type of talent that they can jump routes and stuff like that, I'm not going to say something stupid like they're going to get a pick 6 every game. They have the opportunity that they get a pick 6 every game, because if you jump around and there's nobody there, then, you're gone. So and these guys are athletic enough and fast enough that if, again, looking at the quarterback, seeing the ball come out, that, there's no surprise. They're like, oh, yep, I'm jumping this route. And
they all seem they have pretty good field vision too.
Yeah. So I think we're going to just see more of those. We're definitely going to see more turnovers this year than we've probably seen in the last several years. And we're going to see I don't think this is the last pick 6 by any stretch of the imagination. I think we're going to see a few more.
Going back to the first one against Tulsa, I would kind of want to see Cam Martinez maybe in a returner role, because he really, you could tell he saw the field for that pick 6. Like, he knew exactly, like he could see which lanes he needed to cut up into to take that to the house. And
And I think we'll probably get more into that coming into the Maryland game, because I think we were talking a little bit during the game, is that I agree with you. You're the one that brought it up. I think it's probably time maybe we find a different returner than Garrett.
Garrett Wilson's time as returner has to come to an end, not because he can't, obviously not because he doesn't have the hands for it.
Yeah.
Obviously not because he doesn't have the playmaking ability. He's too important to the offense to be back there. You got tons of young athletes that can make that play.
So, I think as long as they have some sure-handed guy, that's all that really matters. Taking it to the house is just, when you have an offense like they do, they just don't need They just need somebody who can catch it.
I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's back there as the backup. He's shown he can catch it. Like Buka, he's a pretty dynamic, kickoff guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe with, people being closer to him, maybe that's something that he struggled with in practice. Who knows? But I think he could do the job. I mean, if you're just looking for a guy to catch the ball, I think G. Scott Jr. has some of the softest hands on the team.
Yeah.
At least it looks like it when I see it, when you see him play. So who knows? If he just needs someone to field the ball, I mean, I know he doesn't give you the best opportunity or shot to return one. But if you just want someone to field the ball, why not?
Yeah. All right. Anything more you think on defense you want to touch on?
No, I'm just I was very impressed. I think we said it'll look good because of the zone, but there's going to be spots that they still struggle. I think we each had Rutgers getting over 20, and I honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with the defense.
Yeah,
they were much better than I thought they would look.
Yeah. Considering one of them comes late in the game,
right. Well, one's garbage. I mean,
they basically held them 7 points.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah, 6. That's right. They blocked
Haskell got it was Haskell, right? That blocked the extra point. Yeah.
All right. Offensively.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what we need. That's what we were waiting for.
I'm not trying to. It's not a conspiracy theory or not. CJ Stroud's shoulder was obviously hurting him.
Oh yeah.
Now they said last week, he could go in an emergency role if he had. So I always took that as like, is he really as hurt as, or did they just go to him and be like, you need to rest your shoulder, and then kind of hoping that them playing somebody else was going to be the kick in the butt that he needed? Because part of me thinks like him just having to watch, McCord and Miller play was the kick in the butt he needed. Not saying he's a bad or anything, but sometimes you just need that motivation.
Yeah.
And I brought it up in different situations, but I kind of brought it up, during the Saturday. It kind of felt like when Urban decided Tate Martell was going to come in on the goal lines, and then suddenly, for the entire season,
Tate package.
Dwayne never puts his head down and tries to gain yards on the ground, and then just out of nowhere he decides he's going to start putting his head down.
I hated the Tate package.
I hated it too, but
you know why I hated it? It's not because they put in a different quarterback. It's because they never had him throw out of it.
Yeah.
The guy is a legitimate, recruited as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he can throw. I mean, you saw him against Rutgers in garbage time. He went 10 for 10. And you never once just like, hey, they think you're going to run it. Let's throw it to a tight end behind everybody.
Yeah. No, I agree with you that, but it's just that it just seems like that they really, I think it was just the extra motivation, and it really probably the shoulder resting helped a lot too. But, I saw him on a zone read play, take and decide he's going to run it with one. I saw a couple RPOs where he threw it out of it.
The Marcus Mariota sideline RPO.
And he almost got that. I mean, it was at first I thought it was when he first threw it, I thought he made a bad throw because I thought the guy, he tried to throw it over the defender's head, and I thought the guy just tipped it down. But then when you see on the replay, no, he threw it sidearm around the guy, and Jackson Smith just drops it.
I like putting that stuff on tape, and like you said, actually holding on to the keeper.
And there was a couple where he actually just there was nobody open. He took off with it, and you don't have to be Justin Fields or JT Barrett or any of these guys that were more comfortable with going again on a first down with their legs when they had to go get a first down with their legs. But every now and then, if you see open grass, take off with it.
But what it does, it makes their linebackers on the defense just hesitate a little bit longer before committing to something.
And
and with what you have at receiver, I mean that's huge. Even giving those guys, they don't need it, but giving them just that much more time to get open, and you as a quarterback that much more time for someone's trying to get in your face.
Yeah, and now you start working on stuff like if you take off with it, be aware where the line of scrimmage is. And if a linebacker comes up on you and there's a player open behind it, throw it over his head to the player.
What about the wheel route to Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful throw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, great catch too. But
he had the most beautiful throws that he's had all season was in this game.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the whole game. I mean, there was very little bad throws on his part. He was hitting receivers where, and we kind of talked about this. It finally just seemed like that maybe they're getting comfortable calling. It takes sometimes a couple games to really get there. And, we kind of joked around. You said that last week about, maybe they weren't running. They should have ran more motions in practice in the offseason because maybe the defense would have been able to react to that.
Man,
yeah. I think, and, obviously we have no insight on this. I think that the defense at man-to-man was so bad probably going into the season that he probably looked really good and
probably
he's like, all right, I can run more of a Justin Fields style offense with him and he'll be fine. I mean, look what he's doing. We have a good defense. And then you see, no, your defense, at least in that scheme, wasn't that great. And
okay, I got to run the Dwayne Haskins offense.
Yeah, okay.
With a little bit better running game.
We have to come up with a better running game, but that's the type of and that's what I saw. It was a lot more crossing routes, a lot more, just get it to your receivers and let your receivers go do, let them go do all the heavy lifting.
Right.
And, and maybe and all that's going to mean is there's going to be now games now where he's going to have open receivers down the field and Dwayne threw it down the field too. It's just, but it was not like Justin throwing it down the field, but those are going to still be open and he'll start getting more confidence and they're going to start taking shots when safeties come up.
Right.
And that way it's just, last year and the year before, it didn't matter if the safeties were coming up or not because Justin was going to hit the guy regardless down the field.
Yeah. I mean, but like Justin Fields and kind of Troy Smith, they're kind of like in a class of their own when it comes to Ohio State, quarterbacks. And even Troy wasn't as good as Justin when it came to those deep balls. And so like, it's not something that you've had all this time. You can say as much as you want how good of a, thrower or what Dwayne Haskins passing stats were, but go back and watch the season. He didn't do what Justin did in the air. He, it was a lot of crossing routes. It was a lot of high percentage throws. That was almost like an extension of the run game. And now that your receivers are even more open than they were in that year, it can be even more deadly. I mean, people are like, and I noticed like the CJ Stroud thing, and I made a comment on Twitter a few weeks back. Everyone's like, well, yard after catch, and they said them for McCord, yard after catch saved both of them. Oh, how's that an insult? Like, I'm glad my quarterback can see that there's no one around this guy for 30 yards. That's like one of the most asinine arguments I've ever seen.
You got to take
ever about a quarterback.
I saw somebody mention today that I saw somebody saying it's like he needs to still throw it downfield more. And it's like, and then a lot of people were saying, hey, if you get the right amount of like, this is college, not the pros. If you got the right amount of athletes around him, I mean, Alabama literally won the national title last year with running an offense that was more designed to go sideline to sideline than it was to go as vertical. Right.
And that was after Waddle got hurt. Like you got to tailor your offensive game plan to what you have. And if that offense is the best for Stroud, like it was for, Mac Jones, that's fine. I mean, I realize Olave and Garrett Wilson and probably Smith and Jigba, they can all take the top off, but if you don't need to, if you can just kill people with what you have, why would you put yourself in a low percentage play when, maybe I can get 6 on a 6-yard pass, but this is a guaranteed 20 yards right here.
Yeah. Tre Henderson, is it time now to say that this kid is maybe the most special running back we've ever seen? Like, and that's nothing to knock on any of the other.
Well, no,
kids.
I mean, we've seen some really, really amazing running backs.
I've never seen a kid that's just been able to literally take it to the house on any given play. And it's like, my God, if he played longer in some of these games, where is he at?
The speed, power, vision. I mean, this guy possesses every tool, is like, he is like the creative prospect that is a 99 NCAA that you made everything great about him. And you're, spend all your time recruiting this kid. He is that guy. We're talking, this is like Adrian Peterson, freshman year at Oklahoma. is like Reggie Bush at USC. And this guy is such a special talent.
Yeah.
And anything like as soon as, and I can't remember, it might have been Cade Stover. As soon as I saw that tight end hit that block, like touchdown.
Like as soon as he as he was passing the line of scrimmage, like that's a touchdown. Like
who's going to stop him?
Like I don't know where any of these other guys on the field are, but he literally has a hole right up the middle, and nobody's going to be able to have an angle that's going to take him down from there.
And eventually, I mean, it's going to be kind of like what we talked about with the offense, you know, heading into the season before we saw that there were some slow starts. It's going to be pick your poison by the end of it. Like you can't stop everything. So is your game plan coming out and stopping Stroud in the passing game? And then you got Henderson that's going to just blow by everybody. You're going to stop Henderson and then you're going to let Olave and Wilson do work. I don't know. I don't know what you would be more confident with. Probably in the Big Ten, they'll probably try to stop Stroud first. And I think we're going to see some really big games from Henderson coming up.
No, I agree with that. So you said, I said Henderson was going to be the guy. You said Olave was going to be the guy. I think we both agree that was Henderson coming out of the game. That was Stroud was the guy, but
Stroud was the guy for sure.
Olave looked really good, and it was nice to see him finally get back on track. He's had 2 slow games, you know, and I mean he those guys just Wilson, JSN. I mean, these guys are just running so free and open, and you know JSN. I mean, he had a couple uncharacteristic drops to start early in the game, and then he had some great catches, and
they're all good. They all look good. I mean, and I honestly I don't remember. I don't even know if it was from the Rutgers game. I was just watching like a highlight. I think Brian Hartline actually shared it about, you know, like what you do in the game is built in practice, and it was one game. And now I can't actually remember if it's Rutgers or not because they might have been in their home jerseys, but like the guys are so wide open all the time, but there are 2 receivers on the, so it had to have been like Olave and Smith and Jigba because it's the one on the outside and then slot receiver. And they both break on the same exact step, both of them. Could you imagine being the 2 defenders trying to stop these guys on one side of the field? And it's like gold medal, like synchronized diving. Like, I mean, it was on the same exact like second. They both break in their routes. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, how could you cover that? And you could see like the DBs completely got crossed on it. So, and they would have been open anyways, but that just got them way open. So
yeah, it's crazy.
They're just so amazing.
It's just crazy thinking. And if this is how, you know, Stroud and Rutgers is actually a good defense. So a pretty good, at least for what we've seen.
From what we heard about them. Like, am I surprised Ohio State jumped all over them? Not really. Michigan jumped all over them, but you know, they figured out what Michigan could do and they stopped them the second half. And there's just no, like, I mean, there was no stopping Ohio State's offense.
You know, and they kept they kept it up. It's just that you would have thought, I just figured it wasn't that the blowout was a surprise or not a surprise, because I don't think it was a surprise. It was just that I kind of thought it would take a little longer, and it just seemed like they were on sync right from the beginning.
They were firing on all cylinders.
And so, and you know, kudos to CJ Stroud on that. And he really looked very comfortable in the game, and that's a huge thing. And he keeps on growing and keeps on looking comfortable. I mean, you know, there's obviously a lot of work still to be done. They got a lot of help this weekend. So like, and you know, more help's going to come. We know how this stuff all works out. There's going to be, I mean, there is a possibility Alabama and Georgia are both heading into the SEC championship game undefeated, but I just think one of them is going to get knocked off somewhere because somebody always gets knocked off somewhere.
Law of probability there. Like, you know, someone always loses. I don't think the SEC is very good outside of those 2 teams this year, though. So, and they don't play each other in the regular season. So,
they both actually got very generous schedules this year. It's like they, you know, they don't play each other.
Right.
They, it seemed like their cross games are not as good. Either one of them out of.
Well, I think people thought, you know, Florida should be good, but Florida's not good. And that's the thing. And I know people are like, it's a rivalry game. They could beat Georgia. I have to see a lot more out of Florida to think that they could beat Georgia. I mean, Florida can't pass.
No,
you're not going to beat you're not going to beat Georgia running the ball.
Yeah. I think
got to have, multiple things going for you.
I think Iowa State or Texas are going to get possibly both are going to get Oklahoma.
They're vulnerable.
It's just, I don't like anything I'm seeing right now.
Sark's offense is starting to work a little bit too.
And honestly, I mean, I don't think because everybody always gets in that Oklahoma love affair thing. If Iowa State ends up with one loss and it's between us and Oklahoma, we're assuming Cincinnati lost. I mean, great win by Cincinnati this week. And we'll be getting more into that because, as the season goes on and stuff, we'll probably talk about them a little bit on our next show later this week. Yeah. But I think if it comes down to a one-loss Ohio State and an undefeated even Oklahoma, if Oklahoma keeps on looking like this, I don't know. Like, this might be the year where they say that, that one-loss team's better than you guys, because I think I'll believe it when I see it. We got to see it from the committee, but I think some of the love affair with Oklahoma is done because people want to make jokes about Ohio State. Ohio State has showed up in more playoff games than Oklahoma has ever showed up in.
We've at least won 3.
I mean, they've literally only showed up in one of them, and I don't know how they lost to Georgia, but but that was it. But
Georgia didn't have the type of offense to pull away from them.
Yeah, exactly. And when Oklahoma started making mistakes in the second half, they,
Baker found a way to get that game to overtime, though.
It's true. So some of that stuff will be interesting. Obviously, this is going to be an ongoing discussion because what happens, you lose a game. So now, you got a lot of stuff you got to look forward to. But the most important thing is you got to get better, because if they're not getting better, like, it's all noise at that point. It's like, the year, they lose to Purdue and stuff like that. And if they would have let Ohio State in at the end of the day, I would have been 100% fine with it, because I don't like fans to say that, well, I don't want to be in it because I don't want to get embarrassed.
Hell no. You want the chance to still win.
I mean, like, you could win a national championship. Like, some God miraculous thing could happen and the defense finally starts playing good. I mean, you never know what could happen.
Well, I mean, hell, who knows? Like 2018, you still would have had like 4 weeks to prep for the game.
And you had an offense that could
score with anybody.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that Alabama team, that Oklahoma team that year, I think it was Oklahoma, right? Or was it Notre Dame?
Well,
who was the other? It was
those 3.
So any of those teams that they offensively, they could have. The only one that was really heads and just better than everybody was Clemson, and
that's because they had that defensive line.
Yeah, and so they could have played with anybody offensively that year. And who knows what happens with the defense? I mean, they had the athletes to play on defense. It's just they didn't have the. Maybe they have the time, though, they could change up some stuff. And,
right.
And Meyer could have been like, we're stopping to run this ridiculous defense. And
I know Washington's offense was god awful, so I don't like to put too much stake into that, that game. But there was a point that game's like 28-7 or something.
So, yeah, exactly.
Something like that. Like, there was a point that our defense was holding up and we were dominating that team.
Yeah. So I think we'll probably, unless there's anything else on offense you really want to hit. I mean, it wasn't a lot. They dominated.
No, I mean, they look good. I think, as long as Henderson stays healthy, this team is really dangerous. Oh, well, just kind of like going back, I was going to say, I said to a couple people on Twitter, because they were all, crying that we lost to Oregon and everything. And, this team right now, they could beat anybody, which, whatever. I mean, I'll let that stuff go. All Iowa State has to do is just beat the crap out of everybody in front of them. And then it sorts itself out. I mean, on it, and I realize it's not the playoff ranking, it's just the AP, but you're going to be put in position. You're 7 now. You're going to be put in a position, if one of them don't fall apart, that you possibly, you can beat 2 teams in front of you still.
Yeah.
Assuming Iowa gets into the Big Ten championship, you can beat them. Penn State's currently in front of you. You can beat them. So there's ways you can still move up and get into the playoffs.
We'll talk about this on Thursday, but
maybe you play Cincinnati in the playoffs.
We'll talk about this on Thursday or later in this week, but is it something to think about? I think, is it more beneficial for Penn State to beat Iowa this week and to have the undefeated game here in a couple of weeks? That's how I'm leaning.
I don't think they will, but we'll talk about it more later on in the week, but I think so. I don't think it's that important to play Iowa undefeated. If they're 1 loss and you look great going into that Big Ten title game. I don't think that's as important as beating like an undefeated looking good Penn State here in a couple weeks, because that'll give you a big bump in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And you kind of need that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Because you don't want to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
You want to, get it beat, fresh in the committee's mind, get on the inside in the beginning, or get real like 5 in the beginning, because you don't want to be like 2014 and go in, 6 into that last week.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if they could get up there maybe into the top 5 by the time, the rankings got to be coming. We're probably within a couple of weeks of them to start.
Well, it's probably, would it be the first Tuesday after that Penn State game?
It might be the week before, it might be the week after, but it's like right around then when they start coming.
It's usually like right around end of October, beginning of November. So I think it might be, because I think it might be that Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because this lines up the same as the 2014. Was that first ranking right before the Michigan? Because Michigan State is after Penn State that year, isn't it? Don't we play them at the beginning of November and played Penn State? Don't we play Penn State on?
I don't remember how that one is out. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll get on out of here with that, and then see you guys later in the week.
All right. Well, it's a big win. Thank you everyone for stopping out tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added, and please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.